On December 4, 2013, a 57-year-old temporary worker named Ronald Smith was cleaning near a conveyor belt at an Amazon warehouse in Avenel, New Jersey. The belt was running. It was always running. Smith's clothing caught on the moving surface, and the belt pulled him in. He was dragged into the gap between the belt and a roller and crushed. By the time his co-workers found him, he was dead. The warehouse was operated by a third-party logistics company. Smith was employed by a temporary staffing firm. The belt that killed him had no guard over the roller where it caught him. The lockout procedure that was supposed to ensure the belt was powered down before anyone worked near it was not in use. Nobody had stopped the belt. Nobody stops the belt. That is the point of a conveyor. It moves material from one place to another continuously, without pause, without judgment, without any capacity to distinguish between a cardboard box and a human hand. It has been doing this since 1795, and it has been killing the people who work beside it for exactly as long as it has existed. It is the most common machine in the industrial world. It is in every warehouse, every mine, every factory, every processing plant, every distribution center, every airport, and every fulfillment center in the country. There are more conveyor belts in operation today than at any other point in history, and people are still dying on them in exactly the same way they died on them 100 years ago. If you learn something from these deep dives into the machines that built and broke the industrial world, subscribing is the single best way to support the channel. The conveyor belt is old, not 19th century old, 18th century old. The first documented conveyor systems appeared around 1795. Simple leather belts stretched over wooden frames, cranked by hand, used to load grain onto ships at port. They were short, slow, and primitive, but the principle was already there. A continuous loop of flexible material moving over rollers, carrying whatever was placed on top of it from one point to another. In 1790, the American inventor Oliver Evans patented a design for an automated flour mill that included wooden conveyor belts, bucket elevators, and Archimedean screw conveyors. His mill could process grain from receiving to finished flour, with zero human labor at the transfer points. When the miller Joseph Tatnall installed Evans's system, it saved him $37,000 in its first year. That was the number that woke up the industrial world. The conveyor was not a curiosity. It was a profit machine. By 1804, the technology had merged with steam power. The British Navy used steam-driven conveyors to produce ship biscuits. But the real transformation came in 1892, when Thomas Robbins developed the first heavy-duty conveyor belt for Thomas Edison's ore milling operation in Ogdensburg, New Jersey. Robbins used rubber-covered belting on steel idler rollers, a combination that could handle coal, iron ore, and crushed rock without tearing apart. His design won the grand prize at the 1900 Paris Exposition. In 1905, the British mining engineer Richard Sutcliffe adapted the technology for underground coal mines, eliminating the need for men and ponies to haul coal through tunnels on their backs. In 1913, Henry Ford placed conveyor belts at the center of his Highland Park automobile plant, breaking the assembly of the Model T into 84 discrete steps performed by workers stationed along a moving belt. Assembly time dropped from over 12 hours to 93 minutes. Ford produced over 200,000 cars that year. By 1920, he was producing over 1 million. The conveyor belt had become the spine of modern manufacturing. But what made the conveyor so efficient was also what made it so lethal. A conveyor belt is a loop. It runs over two or more pulleys called drums, one powered and one idle, with the belt stretched between them in a continuous circuit. The top surface of the belt, the carrying side, bahud, moves material forward. The bottom surface, the return side, travels back underneath toward the tail end. Where the belt wraps around each drum, a gap exists between the belt surface and the roller beneath it. This gap is called the NIP point. The NIP point is where the belt and the roller converge, where two surfaces moving in the same direction come together and close on whatever is between them. If a finger touches the belt near a nip point, the belt carries the finger into the gap. The roller does not stop. The belt does not stop. The finger enters the nip point and the gap closes on it with the full force of the belt's tension and the motor's torque. The finger is crushed. Then the hand follows, then the wrist, then the shoulder. The belt pulls with a force that a human arm cannot resist, because the motor driving the belt was designed to move thousands of pounds of coal or rock or product per hour, and a human arm offers less resistance than a bag of sand. The arm goes into the elbow, then the shoulder, then the body. The machine does not accelerate. It does not react. It continues at the same speed it was running before the hand touched the belt, because nothing in the system registered that anything unusual happened. There is no feedback mechanism in a conveyor belt that distinguishes between a load of ore and a human limb. The belt moves. What touches it moves with it. That is the entire design. Every conveyor has multiple nip points: the head drum where the belt wraps around the drive pulley, the tail drum at the opposite end, every idler roller along the underside of the return belt, every tension roller used to keep the belt taut, every snub roller that redirects the belt path, every point where the belt changes direction, where it transitions from straight to curved, where it enters or exits a hopper or a chute. Each of these points is a place where a hand or a sleeve or a rag or a strand of hair can be caught between two surfaces moving together, and each of them can pull a person in. The danger is not concentrated in one location on the machine. It is distributed along its entire length. A conveyor can be 30 feet long or 30,000 feet long. The longest single conveyor belt in the world runs over 12 miles. Every foot of that belt has N-IP points on the underside where the return belt passes over idler rollers. Every foot is a place where a person can die. The people who die on conveyor belts die doing one of three things. They are cleaning the belt, they are clearing a jam, or they are reaching for something. In December 1998, an 18-year-old chop saw operator at a furniture factory in Kentucky left his workstation and began picking up scrap wood along a running conveyor. He hopped on and off the conveyor to reach pieces of wood on the belt. This was not part of his job. Nobody had told him to stay away from the belt. Nobody had told him what a nip point was. His right arm was caught in the roller mechanism underneath the inclined section of the conveyor. He was pulled into the gap between the belt and a 4-inch tension roller and pinned against the metal frame. He died of compressional asphyxia and blunt force injuries. His supervisor found him hanging from the conveyor by his arm, legs dangling 6 feet above the floor. He was 18 years old and had been on the job for less than a month. In October 2015, a 46-year-old machine operator at a paper mill in Ladysmith, Wisconsin, was servicing a high-speed conveyor belt. The belt was not locked out. It was not powered down. The company's own investigation later revealed that employees routinely worked beneath the high-speed conveyor while it was running during production. The mill had been cited by OSHA for inadequate machine safety procedures 3 years earlier. Nothing had changed. The man was pulled into the belt and killed. The proposed penalty was $119,000. The mill produced 40,000 tons of paper per year for use as paper towels and facial tissue. In March 2024, a 21-year-old woman named Alyssa Drinkard was working at a club car assembly plant in Augusta, Georgia. She dropped an AirPod next to a running conveyor belt. She bent down to pick it up. Her arm was caught by the belt and she was pulled in. Her co-worker standing right there could not free her. Maintenance workers had to shut the machine down and take it apart to extract her. She had a pulse when paramedics removed her from the belt. She died at the hospital. The pattern is always the same. The belt is running. The person reaches in. The belt grabs them. Nobody can get them out. The reason nobody can get them out is that the forces involved are not human-scale forces. A conveyor motor rated at 3 horsepower, which is small by industrial standards, produces enough torque at the drum to exert hundreds of pounds of pulling force on the belt surface. A large mining conveyor driven by a 1,000-horsepower motor produces forces measured in tons. When a human hand enters a nip point, the question is not whether the person can pull free. The question is whether anyone can reach the emergency stop before the body follows the hand into the gap. In many installations, the answer is no. The emergency stop cord, if one exists, may be 20 or 30 feet from where the person was caught. The person's co-workers may not see what happened. The conveyor runs through sections of the plant where nobody is stationed. In the Kentucky furniture factory, the 18-year-old was alone at the conveyor. His supervisor only noticed he was missing after 5 or 10 minutes had passed. By then, the boy had been dead for most of that time. The solution to every one of these deaths has existed for decades. It is called guarding, and it means placing a physical barrier over every nip point so that no hand and no piece of clothing can reach the gap between belt and roller. The technology is not complicated. A sheet of steel or a section of mesh mounted over the roller, shaped to follow the curve of the belt, prevents access to the convergence point. OSHA mandates it. The standard is 29 CFR 1910.2.1.2 for general industry. It requires that every machine component that can cause injury must be guarded. Every nip point on every conveyor in every factory in the country is supposed to be covered. In practice, the guards are removed and not replaced. They are taken off for maintenance, and they are left off because putting them back on takes time. They are removed because they make it harder to clean the belt, harder to clear a jam, and harder to see what the belt is doing. They are also removed because production cannot stop while someone reinstalls a guard panel, because the supervisor needs the line running, and because the next shipment is due in 4 hours with 6,000 packages that must move from intake to the loading dock before the truck arrives. The guards come off, and they stay off. The NIP points sit open, the belt keeps running, and eventually someone reaches in. The specific cruelty of the conveyor is that it does not require the operator to make a mistake. It requires someone near the belt to make the most natural movement in the world, reaching out a hand. Every other machine in this series kills through a specific mechanical failure or a specific operational error. A boiler explodes because the water level drops. A punch press closes because the timing fails. A leather belt catches because a sleeve brushes against it at 30 miles per hour. The conveyor belt kills because a person standing next to it reaches down to pick up a dropped item, or reaches under it to clear a scrap of cardboard, or reaches toward it to wipe off accumulated dust with a rag, and the belt takes whatever it touches and feeds it into the nearest nip point at whatever speed the belt happens to be running. The belt speed on a typical warehouse conveyor is 80 to 100 feet per minute. That is fast enough that the time between contact and entrapment is less than 1 second. A person cannot react in less than 1 second. The hand is in the nip point before the brain has finished registering that something is wrong. This is why the conveyor belt is the only machine in industrial history that kills more people today than it did a century ago. Not because the machine has gotten more dangerous, because there are more of them. The conveyor belt population of the world has grown continuously since Ford's Highland Park plant in 1913. Amazon alone operates more than 1,000 fulfillment centers worldwide, each one containing miles of conveyor belt running at speed, 24 hours a day, staffed by workers who are tracked by algorithm and measured by packages per hour. UPS had the highest number of reported severe injuries of any American employer between 2015 and 2022, with over 1,100 severe injuries in that period. FedEx's Memphis hub, the largest package sorting facility in the world, has recorded multiple worker fatalities, including a woman found dead beneath a motorized conveyor belt system in 2017. The modern fulfillment center is a building-sized conveyor system with human beings stationed inside it, and the machine treats them exactly the way it treated Ronald Smith in 2013. and the 18-year-old in Kentucky in 1998, and every coal miner who got pulled into an underground belt roller in 1910. The belt runs. The nip point is open. Someone reaches in. The conveyor belt was never designed to be safe for people. It was designed to move material. Every improvement made to the conveyor since 1795 has been an improvement in speed, capacity, or durability. The rubber-covered belt, the steel idler roller, the compound drive motor, the troughed belt that cups around the material to keep it from spilling, the enclosed conveyor that runs through tunnels and up inclines and around curves, and the computerized speed controls that match belt velocity to load demand. All of these innovations serve the belt's ability to move more material faster and farther. None of them address the fact that the belt does not know the difference between a bag of cement and a human arm. The guards that OSHA requires are not part of the machine. They are additions bolted on after the fact. And they are treated by the people who work with conveyor belts as exactly what they are: obstacles between the worker and the belt that slow down the work that the belt was built to do. The guard comes off. The belt runs. The nip point opens. And somewhere in a warehouse or a mine or a processing plant, someone who has been on the job for 3 weeks or 3 decades reaches toward the belt to fix something or clean something or retrieve something they dropped, and the oldest machine in the industrial world does what it has always done. It takes what it touches. It pulls it in. It does not let go. If this is the kind of history that stays with you, subscribe. There are more machines like this one, and every one of them left a body count the textbooks never mention.